Brian Hook. Now, from the Mideast to the Far East, a new report shows China is leading cyber attacks on U.S. properties 1 month after Chinese leaders' visit to D.C. Now, at the time, President Obama made a public statement on what seems like an understanding between the two countries.
We have jointly affirmed the principle that governments don't engage in cyber espionage for commercial gain against companies.
Cybersecurity firm CrowdStrike announcing 2 incidents today, saying they took place the day before and the day after President Obama and the Chinese President Xi Jinping said that they had reached that understanding. So CrowdStrike CEO George Kurtz with me now in an exclusive interview. George, thanks in advance for the time. What did you find? Because the timing is key.
Well, we actually found there were over 7 different companies that we tracked that were targeted in over 20 different incidents, and we still see targeting today. So when we think about this particular agreement that was made with China, one of the key tenets was that government on company espionage was going to be prohibited, but we still continue to see that today, and it's only been a month after this agreement has actually been forged.
So what is this going to change as far as timing, the timing of the visits, the timing of what we all understood to be an agreement? What do you think happens next?
Well, it's one of those areas where China has built a large and very successful apparatus for conducting industrial espionage. And perhaps it takes some time for them to spin that down. And, when we think about this relationship or this agreement that was forged just a month ago, we're not quite sure of the details or the timing. So, if it's something that they're spinning down and we can be hopeful that it's going to taper, that would be great. Although, based upon what we've seen from China in the past, I think that's not necessarily going to be the case.
Is there a list of companies that you see being targeted more than others?
Well, in this particular case, we saw pharmaceutical and high-tech companies. In general, China targets almost any company with intellectual property. But if you think about high-tech and pharmaceutical companies, and we think about commercial espionage, there is a large incentive to target those companies for their intellectual property, which could be used for commercial gain with companies that are in China.
Okay, so China is not the only threat. We know cyber arms race escalating, ISIS, North Korea increasing hack attacks on U.S. properties. The FBI is reporting so far unsuccessfully, but ISIS seems to be consistently attacking the U.S.'s energy grid. North Korea building up their own cyber army. How do you see the world, George? Because you see a lot more of the hacks and the ones that we don't even know about. Which is the biggest threat in your minds?
Well, it's absolutely true. What the public sees is only the tip of the iceberg compared to what we see on a daily basis and across the industry. But if you look at countries like Iran, Middle East, ISIS as a collective hacktivist group, if you will, Russia, the sophistication level has now been increasing for all of these different groups. And we just take ISIS as an example. The ability to get into the cyber game in terms of actually being able to break into companies or disrupt them, the barrier to entry has dropped dramatically just over the last couple of years because of the availability of tools and techniques and the ability to actually buy a lot of this infrastructure to affect these attacks. So it's not too hard nowadays to actually get into this game, even if your sophistication level is relatively low.
George, quickly, though, because even in the U.S. we talk about tech talent. How is ISIS recruiting people who are going to be stronger than U.S. engineers?
Well, at the end of the day, if you have enough money, you can recruit people, and many times they're probably not actually within their country. If you look at, as an example, Russia has some of the smartest computer engineers on the planet, and they're typically for hire. So there is a very robust market. It's very efficient, anonymous, and friction-free. And if they want to get something done, if they want the tools or they want the infrastructure and they have the money, they can get it.
All right. Well said. George, we know you're going to be checking in with us in a bit. George Kurtz, for the moment, thank you very much.